Welcome back, friends. In today's video, I want to talk about groceries and meal planning and how I am trying to stretch our grocery budget a little bit better. I'm trying to plan more low-cost meals and trying to do better at my meal planning ahead. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. I have tried shopping at local grocery stores, I have tried shopping at Walmart, and I still never come out as affordable as I do at Aldi. Not to mention Aldi has better options, a little bit healthier options. They don't have food dyes in their store brand products. So things like that make me feel better about shopping at Aldi, but overall the prices are just so much better. And I do pick up, which I know some people would consider pickup to be a little bit of a luxury because they do charge you a fee to do pickup. I actually go there and pull in the spot and pick up my food. They do charge you a little bit of a fee, but I find that I spend less if I do a pickup order versus if I go inside. Because if I go inside, I'm going to see little extra things that I want to get and I'm going to spend more money. So I do pick up for a reason, not only for the convenience, but also because it saves me money. So I'm going to talk about the new meal planning strategy that I'm using, which I actually was inspired by my friend. I'm going to link her video down below, but I'm going to talk about that in a second. While I've got all the groceries out, I'm going to show you what I got and I'm going to tell you how much I paid total. Now last week I actually got all of our groceries for just under $100. This week it was $155. That is the highest end that I'm trying to spend. I'm trying to ideally keep it lower than that, but I did have to buy a little bit of extra stuff for a birthday party that we're having for my son this weekend. And then also I had to buy an essential like toilet paper and what else did I get? Parchment paper, which parchment paper really wasn't that bad, but I did have to get the extra food for his party, and I did have to get toilet paper, which toilet paper is a little added cost. So there was a few little extra things in there that cost a little bit more, but ideally I want to keep it under $150. So I'm going to start with the meals that I'm doing this week. First of all, I'm going to do nachos. So what I got for nachos was I got some tortilla chips and some ground beef, and then I got taco seasoning, sour cream, and I got some of this salsa con queso. And I did order some tomatoes with chilies, but they refunded it because apparently they didn't have it. But I think I might have something that I can substitute for that. And then I am also doing a lot of sheet pan meals. So this week's sheet pan meal is peppers, zucchini, and I got a bag of onions because I was almost out of onions. And I'm going to cut up one of these beef sausages, cut up peppers, zucchini, sausages, onion, put it on a pan, season it, and I'll probably put some rice with it just to make it a fuller meal. But that's a meal this week. Then we have this, which is egg roll in a bowl, which I love to make egg roll in a bowl. It's so good. Usually I buy a bag of pre-mixed up slaw mix, but I wanted to try to save a little bit and just do the fresh cabbage. So I'm gonna chop up this fresh cabbage, and I've got ground turkey, and then I'm gonna add a few more little vegetables, and then I've got soy sauce and sesame oil, and it's kind of just like a stir fry and you put it over rice. Next I have this, which is a meal that I make very often, and it is, I get this New Orleans style jambalaya rice mix. I get this at Aldi, it's very cheap. Another beef sausage that I'm going to chop up, and I've got the Boursin cheese. This is the garlic and fine herb. Put it all together in one pan, cook it. It's really good, it's really easy, and it's very affordable. Then I got some frozen meatballs. These are for the party on Saturday, but I kind of just counted it as Saturday's dinner because I know we'll have leftovers. But I've got 2 bags of meatballs, and these were kind of expensive, which I would have done something cheaper if it wasn't specifically for the party. But the meatballs were kind of expensive, which was another thing that drove up my cost. But I've got these, and then I've got 2 barbecue sauces, a honey barbecue and an original, and I'm gonna do this in the crock pot. And I got some pizza dough. This is pretty cheap. I already had some mozzarella cheese that I had left over from last week, and I already had a jar of pizza sauce from last week, so I didn't have to buy that. I did buy more pepperonis. I also had some sausage left over from last week that I'm going to do a sausage, egg, and potato skillet at some point this week as a meal, and I'll substitute that in at some point. I wrote out my week of meals, but I may move a few things around just depending on what's going on. So that is all the meal stuff that I got. And then I got 2 dozen eggs. These were, I think, $2.19 a dozen at Aldi. These are the Farm Fresh, no growth hormone, the Golden brand. They were $2.19 a dozen at Aldi. So I got 2 of those. I have about 1.5 dozens in the fridge, but we go through a lot of eggs, and also I'm going to be doing some baking this week as well. So I needed plenty of eggs. So I've got those eggs. I got paper plates because I have no dishwasher and the dishes just get a little bit overwhelming if I don't have paper plates. Plus, I will ideally be able to use these for his party as well. I got some muffin mix, and yes, I could make muffins homemade, okay? But I'm choosing to do this. But if you watched one of my previous vlogs, you would have seen me talk about the stuff that I get for my son's lunches for school. And I was buying the boxes of mini muffins, and while they're not super expensive, there's not many muffins in the box. There's a little bitty bags, and then there's a few muffins in each bag. So I thought, instead of doing that, because my husband also needs something to eat for breakfast before he leaves for work, I was like, I will just make 2 dozen muffins and make them at the beginning of the week, put them in bags, and then they have them ready to go for their lunches and for their breakfast. So these are actually really neat. These wild blueberry muffins, they're Betty Crocker. They come with a can of blueberries in them, like wild Maine blueberries. It was so neat. I've never seen that before. And then I just get the chocolate chip. But that worked really well for us last week. So that is what I'm doing this week. You can make your muffins homemade if you want. I have other baking that I need to do, so I'm choosing to do the muffin mix. Next, like I said, I have some baking to do this week. I usually only use butter, real butter. So I got some unsalted butter, but because I am going to be, and this is another video that I can do for you if you're interested in this, but I am going to be homemade and hand making a lot of my Christmas gifts this year, and part of that is going to be cookies. So I need to start making my cookie dough soon, and I think I'm going to use some margarine for those as well. So I got margarine because that's just a little bit cheaper, a little bit more cost effective. I know it's not better than real butter. I have not bought margarine in so long, so do not yell at me, but I am trying to keep costs low right now. Since we are baking, I got another bag of brown sugar, a bag of white sugar, a bag of flour, because I'm low on all of those. I got another bag of white basmati rice. This is our favorite rice. I got another bag because I completely used up what I had last week. I got some parchment paper. I got only 1/2 gallon of milk this week because I still had some in the fridge. I got bags of potato chips this week to use for his lunches instead of the individual bags because it's way more cost effective. And then I got marshmallows for the party. And then, because we're gonna roast marshmallows. And I also got some ground cinnamon because of baking. And then I did have to get toilet paper, like I mentioned. And then I like to buy these chicken pot stickers, these frozen chicken pot stickers. I use these for my lunch a lot. They're really good. They have some decent protein in them. They are kind of high in sodium, but I like to make some of these and throw some cowboy candy and some Bachmann sauce on top, and it's really good. Not the healthiest thing, but it's a really good, easy lunch for me. And then we have a freezer, and I'm trying to keep a few backup items. I want to get into making double batches of my meals. So as I progress into this, trying to be as cost friendly as possible with my groceries, I'm going to start doing some of that because we do have a freezer. But I am trying to buy like a few extra frozen pizzas or bags of frozen vegetables to keep in there just for backup. And so I got this to try from Aldi. It's a deep dish Chicago pizza. I'm just curious to see how this is. Aldi has some pretty good frozen pizzas, so I got that. And then the only other thing was I did get 2 boxes of the lime sparkling water. That's what I drink all the time. I'm not interested in water unless it either has lemon in it or is a sparkling water. But other than that, that's everything I got. It was $155. I did end up picking up some trash bags at our local grocery store and some coffee because the coffee that I drink, they do not sell it at Aldi anymore. So I did have to get that somewhere else. But this is enough groceries to get us hopefully all the way through Monday of next week, depending on how far I can stretch everything. So now I'm going to show you how I'm meal planning. So I did want to mention, I know in my last grocery haul, I talked about how I was trying to make those bowls that had the rice and the protein and the vegetables and all of that. I never ended up doing that because I ended up having to use the chicken that I was going to use for a supper, and it just never ended up working out. And I'm just not exactly in a spot right now where I can buy a lot of extra protein. So I'm kind of letting go of that idea. We're kind of trying to save money as much as we can, and one of those big ways is to try to save as much as we can on the food budget, because with the way that grocery prices are right now, y'all know, you know, if you're like us, you know you're experiencing the same kinds of budget increases and things. So I've kind of given up on that. I am still eating the smoothie bowls. I still have the stuff for the smoothie bowls and I still enjoy those. But I did not end up making those kava bowls that I talked about. Now, for the meal planning portion, I did want to say that this was an idea that I saw from my friend Kelly, and I will link the vlog down below where she showed her meal planner. I thought that was a really good idea, and I had an empty binder that I had thrown aside with like recipes and stuff in it. And then if you've been following me for a long time, you would remember this little cover right here. It was from the homemaking binder that I made quite a few years ago. So I took this sheet and I put it in the front of this, and this is just my grocery list and meal planning. And so what Kelly was saying was that she writes down her meal plan and her grocery list, and she keeps them in here so that she can look back at what they had and what she needed to buy to have it. I thought that was a really good idea to keep it organized. So that is what I did, and I have been writing down my meal plans and then the grocery lists underneath it. And I have been trying my best to, as soon as I order groceries, I go ahead and plan out the next week so that I have it already done. And that way, the night before I need to order my groceries, I can just look at the list, make sure that we don't need anything extra, adjust anything that I need to adjust, but pretty much the list is made and I can go ahead and order it. So I'm gonna read off to you some of the meals that we've had in the last couple weeks. So the first one that I wrote down here, we had spaghetti, and we also had the next day we had a sheet pan meal. The sheet pan meals is something I'm going to be doing a lot more of because they are filling, they're pretty healthy, and they are very cheap, especially if you use the sausage. So this particular one, I did sweet potatoes, white potatoes, sausage, and broccoli because my kids love broccoli. And I just threw it all on the pan, a little olive oil, salt, pepper, garlic powder, and baked it in the oven. And then I put it over top of rice just to make it a fuller meal. This week I'm doing the pepper, zucchini, onion, sausage, and season it. I may season it a little bit differently, but it's the same thing, just roast it. And then the following week, I have a recipe for like a honey garlic sheet pan that's got carrots and it's got zucchini and peppers and onions and sausage. And I think that one will be really good, especially over rice. So the sheet pan meals is something I'm trying to do more of. I did a chicken and biscuit pot pie, which was actually a HelloFresh recipe, and we got HelloFresh. This was quite a few years ago. I had tried it out because I had a voucher, and it ended up still being super expensive. So I don't think that HelloFresh is something I would recommend. The food is really good, but it ended up still being really expensive because I still had to buy groceries, like essentials for the house still. And in my opinion, those kinds of things are not very cost effective. Now, maybe I'm not utilizing it in the right way, but they do give you all of these recipe cards, and I have these recipe cards in the back of this binder here, but I kept the recipe cards. And so for that chicken and biscuit pot pie, it was on one of these recipe cards, and it was one of the meals that we really like. It's in here somewhere. It was one of those meals that we really, really liked. I will post this on my community tab. If you want the recipe for this, I'll post a picture. But it was really good. And I kind of have changed it up a little bit and made my own spin on it because they send you already portioned out ingredients. So there was like chicken stock concentrate. I couldn't get it all these. So I changed it up just a little bit. But it's really good, especially for this time of year. It was a really good recipe. And I happen to already have chicken in the freezer. So that worked out perfectly, and I had enough chicken that I cooked it all in the crock pot. I used half for the chicken pot pie and then half for a soup the next day. So I had the stuff to make a sausage and egg skillet. And if you have been on my channel for a while, If you go back into some of my recipe meal planning videos, you will find planning meals on a shoestring budget or something similar. I'll link it down below. At that point in our life, we had very little money. We had some financial issues going on with Brennan's job, and he wasn't getting any hours, so we really didn't have any money. And I was having to plan groceries out on an extremely thin budget. So at this point in our life where I'm trying to figure out how to save money at the grocery store, I'm like, if I could do it then, I can do it now. So I'm trying to figure that out again. But the sausage and egg skillet is from that video. And I think back then I only did egg and potato because I didn't have sausage. In this one, I'm doing sausage, but it's a really good hearty meal. Homemade pizza, tortellini soup, which is basically just a chicken noodle soup base, but I buy the tortellini from Aldi and I put that in instead of noodles, and it is so good. I have written down, of course, the ones from this week: nachos, sheet pan meal, pizza, the jambalaya, like the cheesy jambalaya, egg roll in a bowl, the meatballs. I still have stuff for sausage and egg skillet. I have stuffed peppers, which is a really good meal, and it's kind of like the sheet pan meals. They have so many different types of stuffed peppers. You can do a taco stuffed pepper. You can do, the one that I do is rice and tomato sauce and the ground beef. I don't know, it's like a tomato based stuffed pepper. But anyways, there's lots of different stuffed peppers that you can do. So I'm gonna do the ones that I just mentioned, the tomato based stuffed peppers, another sheet pan meal, cheesy tomato pasta with sausage, which is kind of a variation of something that I did a few weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago, I don't know. I mentioned it in that vlog where I took the feta and the tomatoes and I was gonna make a pasta with it. I was not crazy about that. There was something about the feta cheese that I did not like it. The texture of the pasta, it wasn't awful, but it was not something I will make again. However, I am going to do a similar thing with boursin cheese. I'm going to use the boursin cheese and cherry tomatoes, and I'm going to use sausage as well and toss the pasta in that sauce. And I will let you know how it is, but I think it's going to be really good. We're going to do ramen one night. I found a recipe for gravy smothered pork chops and rice. We're gonna do that. We'll be at a Christmas gathering one of these nights, and then I'm going to do a lasagna one night. And then with each of these meal plans that I have left the grocery lists for them down below so that, and this was not my idea, this was Kelly's idea. So go watch her video, but I've left them down below so that I can refer back. Which I thought was very clever and something that I think is really going to help me. And the other thing that I think is really going to help me is that the fact that as soon as I finish one of these, as soon as I place my grocery order, I'm going ahead and doing the next week's just so that I can stay on top of it. Now, the things that I am still working towards is doing double batches of things because I want to make some freezer meals. I do need to get some big freezer bags and some aluminum pans, and I need to start planning for double batches of some of these things because I do want to start freezing meals. I do want to start freezing double batches of meals. I am going to try to progress more and more into the direction of doing some more things homemade. I'm not a stranger. It's not that I don't know how to make things homemade. It's just trying to find a balance between convenience and cost. So I have kind of gotten to the point over the last several months where I've relied more on convenience, and it costs more to do convenience. So I'm trying to shy away from more convenience. Like I said, with the boxed muffin mix, it's kind of like an in-between. I'm not buying the pre-made muffins, but I'm not doing them homemade. It's just what it is right now. It's kind of like with paper plates. It's like the season I'm in, that's what we're doing. But I'm at the point where I'm starting to get some of my time back, so I probably will be moving more towards some homemade things. Also, just basically planning ahead, trying to plan and prepare ahead. I have been trying to think about my husband's breakfast in the morning, trying to make sure that he's taking enough food. I made 2 breakfast casseroles. One I took to a Christmas party and the other one was for us to try to have some breakfasts and also have breakfast for my husband as well. So that's something that I've done. Those do take a lot of eggs, and you know, those do take a lot of eggs, but they're really good, really filling, and that was homemade. So the planning ahead too, just making sure that we have food is something that is helping, because we're trying not to go out to eat hardly at all because that is so expensive right now. So these are some things that I'm doing to try to help our grocery budget right now, because costs and prices of things are just so high. And it's not that I ever stopped being cost conscious at the grocery store, but I used to have to be extremely cost conscious because we did not have a very large grocery budget at all. But we're just at the point where we really need to reach some goals and save some money. And so I'm trying to really economize better in our grocery department. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video. If you have any tips for me on how to save at the grocery store, let me know what you do down in the comments, and I will talk to you next time.